a video come up on social media, and to be honest, immediately I just felt sad for the person involved because, when someone goes through a difficulty, you can relate to what they're going through, but you can also see the other side of things, and it's not always easy in someone's life, I think, to see so clearly. Usually it's easier for someone on the outside to see things with a clear, rational mindset. But when you're in the thick of it, it is difficult and it is complicated. It's not as easy as people like it to portray it as, because they have the burdens, the expectations, the obligations, the connections to a situation that really do restrict and hinder their potential for freedom, really, because life's complicated. But a lot of things we are attached to, in general, they're replaceable, So that's the thing. It's like, I know we can invest so much of our time, so much of our resources, our finances, everything in one direction, and it can feel like a huge loss to let that go and lose it. But what you're gaining is your freedom. So just see it as you've invested in something. You can be proud of who you are, and if something doesn't work out, you now have the time for yourself. So at least you're not losing anymore. That's how I would look at it. When you think about money and things, that can come and go. So this is it. It was just literally, it's more like a text than a video. And it says, 2 days ago, my husband said he hasn't loved me in a long time. I was such a to him, and he wants to be free. Now, even just that level there, I mean, the first part there immediately, hasn't loved me in a long time. Well, straight away, I'm just thinking, if someone's reached a point where they're saying that, first of all, it's cruel in saying it so directly. But you're not in the dynamics, so you don't know where the victim is and who isn't, and the dynamics, unless you're in the relationship. But you can take it at face value, and you would say, if someone's detached and switched on from a connection, it's really important you don't chase. Fundamentally, that's really important. It's like, because what happens is, in relationships, for instance, we get so attached to someone that it's almost like our identity is connected to them. So when someone detaches from us, it can really hit our self-esteem and devalue our morale and devalue how much we think of ourselves, So if it's almost like, if you don't love me, then who will? And who am I without you? Because like, my life was connected to you. And again, the experience is going to be different for everybody, because people like perceive life in different ways. There's some people who are absolute. Once they've reached a connection, it's like, my life is with you, and I will make it work, and we will make, it's like your determination to see things through and your loyalty can be far superior than the person you're connecting with. Effectively, we get like goggle eyes. So we sort of like see people for what we want to see them, rather than necessarily who they are. So we naturally expect people to be like us. So if you're with me, the assumption then is we're the same, me and you. It's actually rarely are two people the same. Some people are chameleons, so they'll copy, they'll imitate, they'll replicate how you behave, your mannerisms, and it'll feel like, oh my God, like I can't believe we're connected this well. They put it on a front. And then some people are just genuinely compatible, but there'll always be areas where maybe you're not 100%. And one of those can be how you perceive long-term relationships, your commitment to it, how much you will fight to keep something going. So when someone puts, for instance, they haven't loved you in a long time, it's like, from my point of view, it's like, wait, first, like I said, if they don't love you, don't chase them. Second of all, why leave it to that point? If you haven't loved someone in a long time, why didn't you speak earlier when things weren't quite happening, like working out, or you're feeling a bit distant from situations? Why get to the point where you say, like, for a long time? That's what I don't get. As soon as something's off, why not address it there and then? Why let it build? Because once it gets to this point, is it manageable? Like, is it something even worth sustaining anymore? And then, of course, then it says something so and so to him, he wants to be free. Now, people can be nagging in relationships, but also some people are narcissistic. So it might be that they are sort of like trying to dig further in to try to make her feel less about herself. Again, it's like, this is the sort of thing where you can't say 100%. You're not there. Either they are nagging in some way, they're restrictive, or that person's really just trying to hurt them, and they're just trying to make them feel even lower about themselves. And that's just incredibly spiteful. But again, it's hard to say because you don't know the people. Let's err on the side of that person's just being cruel. So let's say she isn't like that, but that person's really trying to dig it in to make her question everything about her life. So what's he trying to achieve there? He's trying to leave with the moral high ground. He's trying to leave of a higher status, effectively leave her vulnerable at the bottom where she would still pine for him, which is exactly what's happening here. And he gets to go off and live how he wants, and he gets to feel good about himself. Because what it is, a lot of people, when they leave, they don't want someone to go and live a better life than them. They want to feel like they're winning because it's all competition, really. Even if it's really weird psychology with some people, you know. So by leaving her at a bottom, it's less likely she's going to find someone anytime soon to take his place in a relationship, for instance. And you know, by keeping her spoiled and belittle her, if let's say he runs off, he goes with a new relationship, because her confidence is hit, and she's probably still trying to find answers to the questions. And if it doesn't work out of his new situation, he may very well be doing that to try to preempt so he can come back whenever he wants. So I think it's about just empowering yourself and saying, I will never be disrespected like this. If someone wants to leave, then leave, and it will hurt. And it will disrupt everything that I've been building. You know, but I am my tower, and I will not have my tower destroyed. Everything around me can crumble, but I am a formidable force. Now, it's easy to say that, of course. It's easy to say that and tell people you should be strong, but it's not always easy to implement. I think especially when you're in the middle of a crisis. Like I say, it's even more compounded with your living situation or your finances. There's so much that gets tied to people. And I think that's where people need to be a bit more sensible when you go into relationships. Yeah, you're building for a future together. Yeah, you're building, you know, everything's together. But I think there has to be, in my opinion, you share certain commitments and you share some bills. You can even share a bank account. But I think there should also be personal bank accounts, and there should be personal responsibility of specific bills, because nothing is guaranteed in life. As much as you absolutely love someone, neither party can ever guarantee this is going to last for the rest of our lives. So I think you have to be pragmatic and have your own life as well. And that way, if anything ever happens, it's not so destructive to either of you, you know? So you're just, it's a level of self-preservation, but I think it's just smart, personally. It's literally having your independence, even if you're together. And I think that helps you be liberated in a sense. Anyway, otherwise you've always got to answer to someone, and no one should have to answer to anybody like that, you know? Like I say, if you've got certain bills to pay and you've got a certain pot that's together as a contributing fund and it's shared, then that's right, because you're contributing. But if you've got personal finances that are yours, that's different to that, and you treat yourself to something, then some people shouldn't really be moaning because you're already contributing and you're there. Now, everybody have their own ideas about relationships, and I get it, but I just think there has to be a level of independence. And then if something does happen, it's not the end of the world, personally. So now it says, now I find myself bargaining for his love. That's never a good thing. You shouldn't beg for anyone for their love, and you shouldn't have to sort of bend to someone else's whim just to appease them, because now you're always at the bottom. Now you're always a bottom feeder at the mercy of someone else, and that's not a good place to be for anybody. So I would never encourage that at all. I think effectively it's just about, you've got to empower yourself beyond a situation and just find that confidence in yourself and start to glow and realize that, you know what, with or without this person, I'm going to shine, baby. That's how it's got to be, you know? And then you start looking at that person and wondering whether they're worth your time now, because you'll realize how they've been treating you and all these little rules they've been putting in place and all these things to make you feel insecure. You start to see them for who they are. Now, it might be nefarious. So yeah, you can go, you know what, I've had enough of you. You've been putting me down for too long. You say you haven't loved me for a long time. Well, I've just realized that, you know, I'm no longer in love with you, and there's nothing you can do to change that, because I see you for who you are. You've been manipulating. You've been trying to. You've put an image that matches what I want perfectly, and you was never that person. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. But on the other side of that, maybe they're not that bad. But it's for people to figure out. But you'd never chase anybody, because I mean, when you're chasing love, it's a lost cause. Because love can be challenging. Love can be complicated. But if someone loves you, it should be natural. So yeah, there'll be complications. There might be complications in someone's life. Maybe it takes a while, but you shouldn't have to chase it. Like if they want you, that love will find a way, you know. But I think if you've got to try that hard, then it's not working. It shouldn't be that complicated. Because I always say that myself, for instance, if someone's got a choice between me and someone else and they can't decide, I'll just say, just pick the other person. It shouldn't be that complicated. I understand that you'll be have attractions to various people. But if it's not that obvious, just go the other way. I don't want that shit in my life. I want someone that picks me first and I pick them first. It's like, that's a good start, I think. I think when it starts on an edgy beginning, it's like, that's not really a good foundation to begin with. So want to say that I'll do better, even though in my head I know it's over. And I think that's the thing for anybody, is we all learn from experiences. And I think it's definitely through connections. Like, no one's perfect. I mean, if anyone could look at that, look at yourself, especially when you get older. I think it's harder to talk to younger generation because they haven't experienced anything yet. But I think once you're older and you've had your experiences, you would naturally say, well, the version of me today would never put up with the version of me that existed before. So then what's the difference between there and there? All the experiences you've had, and you've grown beyond it and you've evolved. So what I would say to this, the fact that the person isn't respecting, valuing, or even communicating with you, really it begs the question, why would you invest any more time and resources into that person? So if you recognize something in that relationship that you could have done better, rather than beg and waste your time with that person who, in all honesty, just by reading that, doesn't seem worth your time, I would say take the time for yourself. Start to invest in who you are, build yourself up, recognize the layers that maybe needs to change, things that can improve, and then just keep focusing on yourself. I think having time out for yourself is just really, really crucial. It empowers us and it allows us to see more clearly the things that maybe we don't want and then the things we do want. And you'll see all the little red flags in people as well. So when something happens, you'll go, oh, yeah, I'm seeing right through this situation. I've seen that before. And you're a bit more critical of situations, So your standards increase. So yeah, I just think we evolve, we learn from situations, we become better for it, but then we become better at analysing other people. But what I wouldn't do, in my life certainly, I wouldn't waste my time evolving, growing, learning from experiences, being a better person. Like I say, you look at a previous version and you think, wow, I couldn't be that. Like, for instance, if you go back in my 20s, I was more of a hothead, I was more reactive to situations. So there's ways of being, and I'm far more developed, controlled, mature in all different avenues this side. So this version of me is far superior to the version that existed back then, So the point being, a new profound version of self deserves better than a version of someone else, like an ex-partner, for instance, who hasn't grown. Like, why should you put the time into healing, growing, developing yourself? And yet someone has just took you for granted, they've abused you, they haven't done anything positive with their time apart. Let's say there is a separation, and then that person tries to come back. It's like, you haven't grown at all. And look at the effort I've been doing to myself. If you genuinely cared about this relationship, you'd build yourself up too. You would grow and we would evolve together. But you ran off, you did what you want to do, you expected me to grow and you didn't have to do anything, and now you just want to reap the rewards. You don't deserve this version of me, and you didn't even deserve the other version of me that existed. You didn't even appreciate that version. You definitely ain't getting this one. So it all becomes about self-empowerment. But yeah, I'm not in a stage of my life where I would chase anyone now. I genuinely couldn't care less who it is, and I could love someone to my core. I could have a deep love for them, but if they disrespect me, then I'm not interested. Even though part of me is, it's like another part just won't go near it. So we're all flawed to a degree. Everyone has their issues. Someone else could say, "Well, that's stupid because you're just going to miss out on the love of a lifetime." It's just how I perceive things. So yeah, I will miss out on opportunities. That's for damn sure. You can bet your ass for that, and I know that. But I won't regret it because I think, I don't think things should be that complicated. If someone wants to find an excuse that it ain't going to work, then that's up to you. I'm here, I'm ready. If someone's compatible and it can grow, then you grow together. If someone wants to find an excuse as to why it can't and they expect you to go chasing them left, right, center, it's like no. It's not that I don't care. I just got too much respect for myself to do that. I'm not a puppy dog. It's like, I'm here. If you can stand toe to toe with me and we can communicate and we can build something great, then I'm all for it. If you're going to be insecure, you're going to keep running all over the place and you're going to do reckless things and you think I'm just going to sit around waiting or keep looking over there wondering where you are, you've got nothing coming. So you either meet me where I'm at or don't meet me at all, So all I want to show people in this situation really is that self-empowerment. It's like, yeah, you have a moment of weakness. We've all been there, you know. I've been there myself. Like if you go far enough back with my ex-partner, for instance, and she left with my daughter and things, it's obviously she checked out of the relationship before me because she found it far more easy to detach. Okay. That made me feel really low about myself. It made me question everything, like even my attributes and things and my qualities and whether I'm like worthy of love. It does. It makes you question every foundation of you because your whole life was attached to that person. So if your life was attached to that person and it's caved in, it's like, what is my life then? Now your life doesn't have much value because all of your value was attached to the life you had. But really, the value is ourselves. And you only realize that over time once you've detached from that version, you know, that version of life. And again, you go through the layers, you start seeing people for who they are, and you go, wait a minute, you was never what I thought you was. You was a version that existed that I was seeing with rose-tinted glasses. It was you showing me versions that I wanted to see, but also I was filling in the gaps with things that I thought were real, but it wasn't. It was something that I wanted to believe to be true. Effectively, I say this a lot, is sometimes we meet people, we have an idea of our soulmate, and we meet someone, it makes our heart race, or we're just attracted to them, or there's just something about them. And then we naturally just think, oh, that's my soulmate. And then we just start filling all the gaps in, and you just naturally think, that's it. But slowly the cracks seep, and eventually it all might come crumbling down. And then you get really upset because you've attached the idea of that person as your soulmate, and it's really hard to let go of that, the idea of them. But once things have happened enough, you'll realize that they were never my soulmate. I got it wrong. I can't believe I didn't see that like back then, you know. Again, time's a healer. Time is certainly a healer, but it's like always invest in yourself, and I think always learn from experience. It's all right to have low moments, and you can literally be at the bottom and despair, and people might judge you for it, and people might say you should do this. Healing's a journey. Just because others can see through it clearly and they've experienced it, when you're going through something so heartbreaking and tragic, it's like really hard to cope with that loss, isn't it? So, you know, for all the empowerment people can suggest, and they can see this, when you're in it, it's like give yourself time to heal. Give yourself time to process. And it's like, don't be so heavy on yourself because, like I say, it's a process, isn't it? But it's like, try to keep a level mindset though, you know, even when you're struggling and it's like really lost cause, at the back of your mind, always realize how special you are. That's the real fundamental, isn't it? Because I think if you don't believe in yourself already, and then things compound upon themselves, it's going to be really hard to lift yourself up because you never appreciated who you are or valued yourself. You know, I've always been very quite strong and resilient in myself. I've always liked my personality. I've always liked the way I perceive life in general and things, even when I was a lower version of myself and maybe immature and things. There was always a fundamental thing in myself that I loved, you know. I loved my identity, if you like. So it was never a case of deep down I didn't like myself, because I always have. So I think that is where I'd have a harder time relating to someone, because I just think everybody should have that feeling of themselves, you know. I don't put people on pedestals, and I've never understood why people do. Again, it's difficult. It's different in a relationship because you've tied your life together, so you become one entity, don't you? But when it comes to strangers and fame and all that stuff, I've never really understood why people lose their minds over people, because they're just other people walking around. They're just recognized for something. Now that goes off topic, but it's just a similar thing, isn't it? Where we just put a lot of our faith, belief, and identity into the idea of someone else when everything should be about us. And the way I see it, just to finish this off, really, is the way I see life is like we're all the main character of our lives, and that's not being egocentric and arrogant and all these things. It's not. It's just the fact that that's what it is. So in my life, I am the main character. Everything revolves around me to a degree. So I create, I do this. It's like I'm the main character, and then other people come into my life and they'll bounce out and they stay. They come in, they bounce out. And it's a hard concept to get around, especially when you've got children, because like for a long time, my daughter was the main character altogether. Like I would do everything, and she's a priority. She's still a priority, but I started to recognize that she's the main character of her life. I'm the main character of my life. She's a huge part of my life, and I will support her and help her in any way I possibly can. But I realize it's important that I don't keep myself stagnant. I don't attach her life to my success to a degree, because then you start living vicariously for other people. That's not good for them, and it's not good for me. So I realized that as much as I want to protect her in situations, she has to learn from experiences so she's strong enough in the big world. And then she's the main character. and I am a side character to her life. You know, she is the main character. So when she steps foot in the big wide world and she has all of her experiences, that's because she is the main character, and it's for her to experience all of those things in the same way it's for everybody to. So we just got to start believing in ourselves and realize our role in our life is really, really significant. Like we are it. We are it. And then when you start realizing that, you realize all these other people are side characters. Now, you can have an incredibly strong connection, and that's a really powerful side character. But even if you got married and they're the love of your life and everything's attached to them, you still have to allow them their independence because they are the main character of their life. So they still have to have whatever experiences they need in life. Again, there's loyalty, there's connections, and these things you would have that you would say that we are intertwined and we have the same, ideas. And if we don't, maybe you have conversations. So that's communication. But overall, when you talk about like relationships, for instance, you wouldn't expect someone to cheat, for instance, because that's kind of like that's incredibly disrespectful this side, and it just means you're not committed like I thought. There's ways around it, and that comes down to communication. So just because someone's a main character doesn't mean they can sort of disrespect you, though. So you're the main character of your life. It's up to you what you're allowing yourself to be put up with. So if someone decides, I'm the main character, I do what I want, I don't really care how you feel about that. Well, that's an incredible amount of disrespect because I'm giving a lot towards you, and I'm prepared to make certain sacrifices to make this work. But if you're not prepared to do anything that's give and take, and you just think I'm here to be submissive to you, I've got no time for you. I'd rather find someone who's supportive, appreciative, and we actually work together to create a beautiful life. So I'm not interested in that shit. And that's the thing. So we're all main characters, but it's about having respect as well for other people. And it's not from arrogance. It's just from our identity, And I think if you can get your head around that, then you won't feel so insecure when things go wrong. Because effectively, it's not like sometimes it is our fault. And I think we have to take accountability. Like you can always say if someone leaves, oh, don't worry, it was always about them. We don't know that for sure. Sometimes there's something we can learn from the situation too. Because even if it's not fundamentally like a personality trait, but even if you've allowed someone to walk over you, for instance, although you would argue that other person's took advantage, the real problem is you've allowed that advantage to be taken. So you haven't set a boundary in place and you've not believed in just again, it's about strengthening that, isn't it? It's about being strong and resilient and setting those parameters earlier on. Don't allow someone to do that to you again. So there is a side there where you have to take accountability. And then you can start digressing and say, look, okay, how did that person treat me? Blah, 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 And it's like, yeah, they didn't deserve you. Because if someone's going to disrespect you to the point where they've just said, I haven't loved you for a long time, you've been such a B word, and I want to be free. It's like, yeah, it's not stuff that you want to salvage. Based on all the things I've just said, why would you want that in your life? Find someone that actually values you, loves you, respects you, actually genuinely appreciates you, is going to uplift you and help you shine. That's what you want. Don't ever be with someone who makes you feel small and unwanted, because why would you want to feel that on a regular basis? No. Love yourself enough that is not the life you want. And you'd rather have a life on your own where you actually uplift and cherish yourself. That's the thing. Some people are terrified of being alone. I'd much rather be alone, uplifting myself and inspiring myself to do incredible things and live a life that I want than be stuck in a situation where someone's trying to suppress me. They're always competing with me, and they're jealous. It's like, what's the point of being with someone like that who's just going to constantly sabotage any growth? No, we either build and grow together, or I'll grow on my own. It's fine. Anyway, yeah. Don't put yourself in situations that just devalue yourself.